All right, Rick, come on. We're gonna give you guys an update on a project that we've been working on for a lot of months, a big giant project called SunTrax. SunTrax is a cutting-edge research facility being developed by the Florida Department of Transportation and Florida's Turnpike Enterprise. Now they are working on a lot of cool stuff out there, but one of the main projects are autonomous vehicles, or CAVs. At SunTrax, they're being tested, advanced, and ready for full-scale public deployment. This place is gonna be crazy when they're done. And if you guys want a little bit more information on SunTrax, we did a great episode a few months back. We're gonna put a link at the end of the episode here so you guys can check that one out as well.
Yep, it's been a huge project for us. We've got the first part of it done. The first sign is done and installed, and now we're working on the second sign, which is a bit bigger, maybe a little bit less complicated, but it's a lot bigger sign than the first one.
Right, so 3 signs total. A big entry sign that you guys saw a few months back that we already have finished up, good to go. Now we're working on what we're calling the X sculpture, and it's a 30-foot tall, big giant purple structure that represents roads, and there's some dotted roadway lines in there that are lit. I think you guys saw it a couple episodes ago. We showed you the framework on the X sculpture. Yeah. Now we're gonna get you into a little bit more depth of how that part of the project is going.
Yeah, there's a lot more steel involved with this and a lot more angles and complicated stuff we have to put together.
Most definitely,
Beginning with this piece.
Okay, so we got this big giant piece that's here that we're going to talk to Steve about, but we already have what I've been calling the non-lit sections of the X here and here, the smaller sections. They're already skinned over in the paint department and already painted that beautiful purple color. Now this middle piece is the big main structure of it. There's a lot more work that it gets involved in handling that because there are these lit white roadway dashes in the middle of this. So Steve, tell us how we're doing that. Kind of walk us through what we got here.
This is a bucket that we're using for the white lines. There'll be 4 of them on each side. This aluminum bucket will carry the LEDs. Once the acrylic is in, after the LEDs, this will provide the white for that white line that they're looking for. It will sandwich that acrylic between these 2 pieces of framework.
Okay.
Once this is a complete light, it will be welded on the bottom of this top skin.
Okay. So it's inside the sign. So this sits down in there because they wanted a little bit of dimension on the white.
Yeah, it's going to kind of reveal before the light.
Yep, just a 2-inch deep bucket.
So instead of just doing a purple face with white areas that are cut out of it that are lit, we're doing this, what we're calling the buckets that are sitting down inside and giving that nice little dimension, setting in those white stripes. That make it look really cool.
It's going to look kind of like a dotted roadway.
Right.
You know.
We have a little one here. Got a little medium one here, and then you got a real big one down here. You can tell, look, it's not square.
You can really see the taper
They're
on
all
the big one better.
Trapezoids, some kind of crazy trapezoid shapes. They're not even real. I don't even know what you call those, but yeah, all those angles are different. All the way down here. So you said there's 4
per side.
Per side, so there's 8 buckets total, and each of those has a top section, and then the bottom section that we put the LEDs in. Walk me through this part. So I know there's lighting in this, but why isn't this skinned already? Because we already skinned those non-lit sections over there. They're already purple, but what are we waiting on for this skin?
For the skin, and our next step on this giant frame is to actually put that steel pipe inside. And it weighs about 1,700 pounds. It has to go in before we skin it.
Okay, so Robert's over there working on the steel section, the actual support that's going to go inside this cage to, install it.
And he has been for the past 2 weeks. It's a lot of work on that thing, a lot of welding,
oh my
cutting.
God, big thick welds on this real heavy steel. Now this steel is the heaviest steel we've ever really worked with. It's just giant pieces.
Yeah, if you remember the AC Hotel install where we had the 3 pipes hanging out of the side of the building.
Oh my God, yeah, those were like 700 pounds a piece, right?
Yeah, well this is even heavier than that. Thicker wall, it's a lot heavier steel because of the DOT requirements.
Right, So we're required to kind of overbuild all this stuff to make sure that it meets their standards.
And lasts longer than the pyramids.
The pyramids, yeah. This stuff's going to be around until, I don't know, 2200. I don't even know what to call it. Anyway, so here we are over here with Robert. Now he's building these little picnic tables over here, little little conference tables we're going to be using in the
heavy
office to
table.
get done. All right, Robert, tell us what the hell's going on here and what this is made out of.
Yeah, this is the first part of the steel frame because they want to be able to plant right up to the sign. The footer is actually 18 inches below grade.
Okay, real quick, let's just talk about that footer real quick. So the footer's already poured, right? It is 12 feet wide by 16 feet long, and it's 2 foot 8 inches or so thick, but it's set down in the ground another 18 inches.
Yeah, that far.
Because they want to be able to plant some plants around our actual X sculpture once it's in, and they need that 18 inches worth of ground clearance in order to do that. So we couldn't build the sign 18 inches into the ground, so we're having to build these pedestals that the X sculpture is going to sit on. All right, tell us about them.
They're real heavy. They're 1.5 inch grade 50 for the plates. This is actually the plate that hits the concrete. This is the match plate to the bottom of the pole and the sign.
So this is upside down right now, okay?
And then this thing gets 8 gussets on the bottom and the top.
So it's about 1.5 inches.
1.5
Steel,
yeah.
and then we have a 10 by 10, 5/8 wall
5/8
steel pipe.
Yep.
So 5/8 inch over 1/2 inch thick, and that's galvanized, right?
Yep, that's
and then when
already
we get done with
galvanized.
this, we'll cold galvanize
Yeah,
the
there's
rest of it.
just so much welding to do on the plates and stuff. Plus, I got to preheat it. You know, I'm going to be burning the galvanized off the plate.
All right, so tell us about that preheat. Why would you have to preheat something you're going to weld?
So the difference in thickness between the pipe wall and the plate is too much. So 1.5 inch plate requires 150 degree preheat before I can even start welding. So before I run any pass, I have to hit this thing with a thermometer and 3 spots, make sure that all 3 spots are within 20 degrees of each other and they're over 150 degrees.
Well, you can just set that thing outside in the
Yeah,
Florida sun.
we should.
It'd be 150 in 20 minutes, man.
We actually had to buy a new tool to preheat this steel, right?
Yeah, we're using just a propane weed burner.
Looks like a flamethrower.
Yeah,
Mini
flamethrower.
That's
Same thing you use on a
crazy.
pipeline, heating up pipe.
All right, so we got this one pedestal. We got a second one, obviously, for the bottom of the X's that we have kind of mocked up, but not really built yet. Have you built anything else for the actual structure?
Yeah, I've got the entire X done.
Oh. All right. Wow, look at this. All right, you guys. Now this is starting to look like an X sculpture, right? So all this structure is completely never going to be seen by anybody driving past the sign. This is all internal to the frame and the purple panels that we're building right now, right?
Yep.
So what's so difficult about this particular structure?
Just the weight of it, the weight of everything that's been called out. I mean, the welds aren't necessarily difficult. There's a lot of them. So far, it's been the weight. Trying to do anything is just, you have to figure out a way to force everything to happen. I mean, something as simple as just rolling it over to do the next weld on the next side. We got to figure out a process to even be able to do that.
That's 1.5 inch steel plate. How much does that weigh per square foot? You told
It's
me
almost
that, right?
1/2 pound a square inch.
A square inch.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, those plates
So
weigh 170 pounds a piece.
170 pounds on that one little plate. And then you got this giant, how tall is that?
27 foot.
27, 28 feet.
So this is the smallest pole. This is the one that's on the top.
Okay.
So basically, to roll anything, I had to clamp, all sorts of crap to it, and then try and flip it. Go ahead, try and
Get a little leverage
Give it
to
a
it.
flip. Give it a.
Go ahead, bicep.
Can I flip it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Dang.
your
What?
nuts. That's your
My
nuts
nuts.
down there.
That's the small one at
Yeah, that's got
800 pounds.
800 pounds. So how much is that big one over there?
The main pole running through the center of the sign is about a ton once I put the stubs on. The small one, the first one that'll get set on top, is like 1,200.
Okay, so we're talking, what, 3,500, 4,000 pounds?
Just in steel.
Just in steel to hold up this little, and I bet you 2 of us could go over there and pick up that purple aluminum container, because that doesn't weigh anything, but it's all structural for Florida hurricane winds and everything else. What's the wind load on one of these guys?
I think in Auburndale it's 130 mile per hour winds.
130 mile an hour winds this structure has to withstand in our hurricane prone state. But now, since this is an FDOT project, the welding process and what we're welding to has been very stringent as well, right?
Oh yeah,
So,
he was. The inspector was here Monday all day long, going over this, measuring everything, checking angles, checking the welds, checking the mic and the steel and checking everything. He was here all day,
All day.
crawling up and down this whole
So
thing.
not something we typically, you know,
No, I mean-
have to do.
We have our regular third-party welding inspector that we work with, but
Yep.
then this is another person, an inspector of the inspector, that comes while our welding inspector is inspecting all my work. There's another guy inspecting the inspector.
Wow.
He was going page by page, note by note, verifying every single dimension, every dimension on the gussets, the weld size, the plate, the diameter of the steel. He went page by page and checked every single measurement to verify that all of our measurements, even the cabinet frames and all that stuff, to verify that they were all within the tolerance.
Yeah, stuff that we don't typically have to do, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we might think it's a pain in the ass, but it is FDOT, and they're used to inspecting structures that go over top of the roads, or that are going to be there for 50 years if people drive every day. So they want to make sure everything is exactly what they signed off on.
Tell me about what you had to do on this, because those are big, fat, heavy welds.
Yeah, so there's just a lot of prep on really heavy steel work. The bottom of this pipe is cut at a bevel, and then it's beveled back into itself at a 45 degree. So you got 45 on 5/8 pipe. That entire gap had to be filled up, plus a gap between the plate. So there's 7 passes just to fill.
7 passes.
Seven
right?
passes just to weld the pipe to the steel.
That's here.
And yeah,
Yep.
and then the gussets go on. The gussets I can do in one pass.
This is all one pass
Yep.
here.
Yeah, but the specs are like part of the thing that the inspector is checking is to make sure that weld is the proper dimension.
And that really makes a huge difference on the
Yeah,
on the
because he'll
stability.
check, when he comes to do an inspection, he'll check this weld all the way from here down and around and up. The spec is 5/16 fillet weld. If he finds any spot that's less than 5/16, the entire weld fails.
No.
I have to rerun over the top of it. It also can't be too high. So I have to be able to see in my head what 5/16 is and try and keep that as uniform as I can all the way around. Because like I said, if he finds any spot that's below 5/16, he marks it and I have to refill it in. If I fill it in too high, he'll come back, he'll look at it, it'll be over reinforced, and then I'll have to grind part of it out.
What?
But then, because the stuff is so heavy, I can't weld downhill with flux core. So this pipe goes at an angle. I weld uphill from an inch past the corner. I run uphill and over the top, stop, get 2 people, flip the pipe, you know,
This
pick it back.
1,800 pound pipe.
Pick it back up with the forklift, quarter roll it, and put it in a jig so that it's being held not flat, but kind of cockeyed at an angle.
Wow.
And
All
it's not, I can't do 7 passes, it's 1 pass all the way around. And
So
then
you gotta
another,
flip it every
and then
time.
another pass all the way around. And then a 3rd pass all the way around.
We need
and
like
then
this thing
4.
on a big rotisserie. You know, just some kind of big machine that holds it. I don't know if they even have those.
No, we
Oh
just,
yeah,
let's just not do it again.
they're just expensive.
Let's just
Yeah.
not do it again. Yeah, I guess you're glad you never skipped leg day, right?
Oh, yeah.
That thing
This
loops
is,
it up,
stuff
right?
like this, I don't have to go to the gym.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, it's a company benefit. Come work here and you get a free gym membership. You get a workout. All right, wow, check this out. All right, so now we're here at the last part that we actually have built, fabricated, and painted. This is the non-lit part, so it's the bottom leg and the top leg this way, and then that big piece goes through here that we're still manufacturing, right?
Yeah.
So these pieces have passed inspection, they look great, they're getting painted. These guys go out to the field as they are, and then once the poles are on, we'll slide those down the poles, but that big one goes out in the field with the pole in it because it's got those little stubs sticking out to hold these poles, which is what makes us have to put it in before we actually skin it.
Yeah. Once we put the stubs, you know, weld the stubs on, we can't then get the pole into the sign if the sign frame is finished.
So it's locked in, like the pole is locked into the cage.
Right.
So what you're saying is we're gonna have to put that 2,000 pound steel pipe into that aluminum cage, put all the lighting around, skin it all, and then we're gonna have to paint it with that pole in it. So how are we gonna transport that sign into the booth?
I'm going to end up, the best idea I have is to just weld legs onto the pole that stick out because the end is going to be exposed anyway for picking it up and stuff like that. So it's just going to, I'm going to weld a frame that comes out to casters so we can roll the thing around. We'll pick it up with, I don't know, something. Take the casters off, we'll set it on the trailer on that frame,
Okay.
And I'll just make the frame in a way that once it's up, you know, it's going to be inside. We'll just cut it off in the field.
It's kind of like we did the AC hotel signs when we lifted that thing and we made those custom angled carriages or you know, racks that we carried the sign down to the job site on. So we're actually fabricating a transport method for that big ass pole and go like that, which is pretty crazy. It's going to be a challenge getting that thing in the booth, out of the booth, and man, it's going to take a lot of people to move that thing around. And this is stuff you got to think about when you're bidding jobs like this. You got to take into consideration all the time it's going to take to actually do these welds, which in this particular project, I didn't necessarily take that into consideration when we were pricing this job. So this is all extra stuff that we have to do to just make sure that we meet their specifications. All right, so speaking of install, have you figured out how we're going to install 3 tons of steel out there in the middle of the field?
Well, we're working on that. I'm sure we'll figure it out before the install episode.
I'm sure we'll figure it out before. Man, always living on the edge. That's us at Media One, boy, but we'll get it figured out. Hey, and if you guys have been watching the episodes and you've been saying, I can do that, maybe you can. And if you'd like to join our team, we're always looking for great people. We're going to leave some links below to our Facebook and our website, and we'd like to hear from you guys if anybody wants to come move down to sunny Central Florida and join our team.
That's right, that's right. We have a lot of good projects coming up. We have a lot of good stuff on the books, and we're looking for help. So if you have the skills or you want to learn the skills, come on down and talk to us.
That's right. Look forward to hearing from some of you guys. Thank you for watching the Media One Wrap This YouTube channel.